Welcome to our online conference regarding European Payment Initiative. My name is Arno Kruse, and I will be your host for today. Before to start, I just would like to inform you that this conference is being recorded. Just some few things as well. At the end of our panel, you will have the opportunity to raise all your different questions using the slido.com with the hash EPI. So you can already flash the QR code right now, or you can go directly on your PC, on your mobile, and you can also start to have the different questions during the panel, and we will reply at the end of the conference. So let's start now, and few things regarding EPI. And first of all, in a rapidly changing global environment, the European cooperation is necessary. So the ambition of EPI is to create a unified, innovative, pan-European payment solution leveraging on instant payment, which offer for a card for customer and for merchants across Europe, a digital wallet, and a person-to-person payments. This solution aims to become a new standard in the payment for European customer and merchants across all types of retail transactions and covering all cases of payment usage. But for EPI to be a success, one of the questions that we have today is how to build trust and adoptions for customers and merchants. To answer to this very interesting question, let me introduce our panel. So I'm Arno Kruse, Vice President Consulting at Fime. And Fime is a trusted partner for reliable and secure transaction experience. Fime provides an independent view on payment and smart mobility ecosystems, which offerings and solutions in business consulting, technical advisory, and tools and testing. I will have the pleasure of leading this discussion today with our guest. So Nizar is head of payment at Auchan Retail, France. Auchan has been a committed retailer for at least 55 years. Its current ambition is to meet today's purchase and health-conscious omni-channel customers. Auchan, this is 13 countries, 32 billion euros of consolidated revenue, and 1,965 points of sales. Valorant is head of customer card at BNP Paribas. He is in charge of the payment method, including customer cards. BNP Paribas is a lending bank in Europe with international reach. It has a presence in 74 countries. Andrew is Senior Vice President Product Management at Feedzai. Feedzai provides a lending platform provided by intelligence artificial and big data to make commerce safe. Their customers rely on Feedzai's machine learning technology to manage risk associated with banking and shopping, whether it is in person, online, or via mobile devices. And Anaïs is head of partnership at Upstream Pay. Upstream Pay is a modern platform allowing e-merchants with a single integration to orchestrate payment method and to improve acceptance and conversion rates with a seamless customer payment experience. So we will have a very interesting panel today to reply to this important question on how to build trust and adoptions for customer and merchants. So to start, I would like to have a first discussion with you, Valorant. BNP is an active member of EPI. Could you give us a bit more background on EPI and participants?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arno. Thanks a lot for having me to this very interesting subject and session from Fime. It's clear that payment is one key asset within the BNP Paribas group. We are a big issuer of card within all of markets. And we see more and more that innovation is key to payment. I mean, the experience of payment being digital or being through card payment, physical, is becoming more and more clear. And therefore, we shared this point of view with several banks a few months ago, actually almost 2 years ago. With 16 banks, we shared this point of view and thought that the race to innovation was putting an offer at a European level more enabled to follow the race to innovation than at domestic level. And that's why we decided to join our force to try to strengthen ourselves within this EPI initiative to build a common scheme that would be able to offer innovation and to offer a reliable network throughout all of the European countries. Now we're almost starting from 16 banks. We're almost 31 banks. We are 31 banks actually, with 2 acquirers that also joined the force, and several other countries and the banks are already thinking about joining. So clearly, it's one step that is being taken. We're working very hard on defining exactly the value proposition of EPI and what it will bring on the table.
Very good. Okay. Nizar, as a merchant, how do you see the EPI initiative?
Yeah, so as a merchant, being part of the payment ecosystem, being a central actor in the payment ecosystem, I would say that for us, it's first of all, it's about sovereignty. It's like you have introduced the API in the beginning. The main risk for us is that all that initiative be built without us involved in the discussions. Clearly, we want to be part of the game in order to be able to give our words. So our knowledge about API is simple. We know that it will be based on instant payment. So the first thing, and it's a request to pay like process, and it will be governed by a centralized scheme like player. So yeah, for us, it has to be like a classic card payment.
Like a classic card payment, which is, let's say, very interesting in terms of view. Andrew, if it is like a classic card payment, what make a payment accepted by a customer for your point of view?
Thanks, Arno. I think we go back to, I always think of this in 3 ways: simplicity, value, and credibility. People need to feel safe in what they're doing, but they need to see the value of that as well. So I believe that the security needs to be strong, as well as the value proposition being clear, and the method being one that they understand, and I guess not only understand, but understand it in the context of what they're doing. They get why they're being asked to do what they do at the point they do it. So when I think about the security, I always think that we need to keep people safe from what they're seeing day to day. They need to feel safe. But then EPI overall needs to have an overall perception of safety within the industry as well. And that goes right across the industry. So it's about making that customer interaction feel safe whilst having an overall brand and perception of security at the same time.
Okay, so I understand that it has to provide trust and confidence.
Confidence
right?
is a great way of describing it. Yeah, confidence.
Yeah, good. So, Anaïs, Andrew says that for his point of view, customer need to have confidence. What is your point of view as Upstream Pay?
Hi, Arno. Thanks for inviting me to this webinar. Andrew has insisted a lot on security, and I think it's a basis to build trust in this new means of payments. It's really important. And we, our merchants, are wondering how it will work in the future to build this trust around this new means of payments in terms of security. As you know, for card payments, you have this program called the PCI DSS, and it enables to build the trust and security around card payments. And what will be the program for EPI payments? So will it be an equivalent? I'm wondering this today.
Okay, good point. Valrand, for your point of view, what could be the main reason to make confidence, or to that, or on why are you confident that retailer will accept EPI services? What makes you confident for that and for EPI point of view?
Okay, so first of all, it's a very interesting question. I mean, merchants are key in the fact of accepting and launching API. I mean, if we don't have the merchant on our side, then we can build the best value proposition. If they're not confident enough to accept it, then it will still be on the table, but nothing will happen. What I see here is that currently, when I listen to merchant, and I've been speaking, and the whole API team have been speaking to quite a few of them, when they are through all of Europe and even in the world, basically they've got one IT asset that is the same. They've got one cash machine that are the same almost for most of their country. And when it comes to payments, they've got to connect to domestic solution one by one. And of course, the protocol that they've got to connect to are not the same one from one country to another, which is making that very, very difficult. For your information, there are 49 domestic solutions existing in France, in Europe, sorry. So that's a lot. In fact, when we did look at that, we did not even believe that when we really looked at it when we started to work on API. So obviously, this makes the efforts for retailer very difficult to be able to connect and to maintain all those solutions. So first of all, with API, we're bringing one asset that will be common throughout the whole European market. And clearly, obviously, it makes it much easier for merchants to connect to it. Then, having said that, it's not only a question of money, connection, and things like that. And what we hope to bring on the API field is clearly some innovation that will enable merchants to be convinced by the product. And last but not least, it will be the price. I mean, any discussion that we had with the merchant through their associations, such as Eurocommerce and so on, they've always said that price is key in terms of value proposition that we bring on the table with API. And clearly, we are obviously working on that.
Yes, price is usually a key aspect, but not the only one usually. So in that case, I would like to be very direct and to have a clear question. Nizar, as a merchant, I will be very straight to the point. Are you ready to accept EPI?
Yeah, sure. And to make a transition, I will say we are price sensitive for sure, but we are also tech savvy, and innovation for us is very important. I would say we will be very pragmatic as retailers. The aim for us is really to increase revenue. It's no more only about costs. Increasing revenue is avoiding the loss of basket conversion, is retaining the customer, this is the key for us. Really, we are customer centric, and our ability to retain the customer is really very strategic for us. So, having said that, I will always make the parallel with the card. And Auchan, as a big retailers, we deal with many formats such as petrol stations, omni-channel journeys, hypermarkets, supermarkets, etc. So the card for us is very satisfying as it addresses a lot of use cases. Let's talk about pre-authorization, deposits, fingerprints, so all the orchestration for the DAC mechanism, distributeur automatique de carburant, sorry for my French acronym. It's very important for us. So for us, adapting the API, meaning keeping our users alive. So this is a challenge for API as it's like a fund transfer. It's a credit debit, a simple mechanism.
Okay, so you are ready to accept, but you need to have more details on the functionalities and to be sure that it fits to what you already have in terms of user experience and so on.
Yeah, the same level of functionalities that are already addressed.
Right, right. What do you think, Anaïs, about this functionality needs?
Indeed, functionalities of these new means of payments need to be very clear to have all the merchants adopt these new means of payments. It's really important. For example, in case of a final customer complains and is making a chargeback, it's really important for the e-merchants to know how it will work with the payment made by EPI. Another very operational use case is around the refund. You know, with the card payment, I'm making also the parallel like Nizar just made before. With card payments, it's quite easy to make a refund because it is based on the initial transaction. So how it will work with an SCT payments, because EPI will be based on SCT payments. If we want to refund easily our final customers, it's a really important things because, for example, if we take refunds in the most e-merchants, procedures need to be updated. Today, just a few percent are authorized at the Treasury Department to make transfers from a bank account to another bank account. So this needs to be well integrated also in the, let's say, back office side of the payments, and to upgrade all the processes and procedures on the back, let's say on the back side of the payment.
Right. So there is a strong need for clarification on functionalities, and I understand that there is some questions regarding how it will work and to have some comparison with classical cards for specific functionalities compared to instant payment, so behind that credit transfer. And you already have several rules with treasuries and finance departments. So you need to have a better view on that. What do you think, Andrew, of this need of clarification for API functionalities?
I think understanding is vital in terms of the proposition. When we've touched on a number of use cases. Refunds is a great one, but there's also recurring payments, deferred payments, and harmonization is brilliant. You know, I love that stat around the 49 different endpoints. The value to pull that together is clear, but we can't do that by reducing functionality and by reducing those things that Nizar talked about in terms of that vital outcome. So we need to embrace both the future whilst embracing that need to harmonize as well. And I think that's going to be the challenge. I would say specifically, we've done very well with PCI DSS in a card context. We now need to think about the equivalent for the IBAN in a payments context. I would suggest we need to we need to take the strengths and not repeat any errors. And I think the final thing I'd say is, I think what we do day one probably isn't going to be 100% right. So how do we evolve and progress and make that simple? Because if I'm a merchant like Nizar, I probably don't want to be changing things every 6 months. The cost, the complexity is not good. But on the flip side, I don't want to be stuck with something that isn't optimal, especially in these specific and more complex use cases. So how we balance that evolution and progression versus certainty is a real challenge and one we should embrace.
Yes, clear. So, Valorant, there is an high expectation on the different features and functionalities that API will propose. Would it be possible for you to give us some few indications of the main services that API will offer and when it will arrive in the market?
Yeah, I've heard this high expectation and they're clear. And I want to mention that currently there's a team of API people working in Belgium, actually, that are working really hard on that for the past few months and defining the standard, and taking into account all of the needs, all of the features that we've got, because it's true. When I say we move to 49 domestic solution to one global solution for all Europe, it doesn't mean that the 49 use cases that have been built all in one, all by one to one, meaning that we are able to adapt ourselves to the need of one domestic country, must be changed to everyone has to behave the same way, and we cannot allow any more domestic behavior. That's not the case. The purpose of this whole API initiative is to cover the all needs of the client, being merchant or being cardholders themselves or being payment holder. When it comes to features, I can already mention you two things. First of all, we rely, Nissar mentioned it, we rely on instant payment. That's a key asset that banks have been building in the past year. It's really a key asset. It's something that is working very well at a European level with European standard, and that's a key asset that will leverage to be allocated for API needs. And clearly, instantaneity in the payment is something that brings some new features, okay, some new innovation, clearly, obviously. The second thing that I can tell you is that we will cover all of the need. We will cover card payment, being physical, with the card, the plastic card as it is right now, with the chip and the regular transaction, enabling merchant to have the least evolution into their system to accept API within their system. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the digital experience. The digital experience will enable to have either the card being put in a wallet or directly an instant payment being issued through the digital experience of API itself. API wallet should be live in 2022, and then we'll start card payment in 2023. That's the target that we have currently. It's hard work, clearly, we know that. It won't be easy, but we think that it's something that is bringing value to all the ecosystem of the API planet and of the payment model planet throughout Europe.
Okay, so I understand that the first API services will arrive soon, in fact, 22, and it will start on a digital domain.
It will start on the digital domain. When it will exactly arrive, we'll see exactly. But anyway, it will be quite soon, and we're working very hard on that right now.
Right, 22 is tomorrow, or for a payment space, it's tomorrow, so it's very soon. Nissar, what do you expect in terms of services in this digital domain regarding API? What do you expect that API should meet at least?
Yeah, so great question. I think there is a balance to find between security and convenience in terms of payment, meaning that as a merchant, we are very sensitive to frictionless customer journeys. In that way, I think, and it's a suggestion for API, if it's possible to to rectify what has been missed by PSD2. And now then I'm talking about the strong customer authentication. We all know that strong customer authentication today is managed by the issuer banks. And for the merchants, this is becoming a nightmare because the journey is really not very frictionless, let's say that. And many of our customers are a little bit lost some way, which leads to cart abandonment, etc. And we all know the story. So is it possible that the API comes with a delegated authentication mechanism? I think this is key for the merchant, and it will be something new, a new benefit that would be brought by API.
Right. So yes, indeed, a strong customer authentication is one thing very important that PSD2 is changing on the market. What do you think about the strong authentication aspect, Anaïs? Is it something also that is asked or expecting by your customers?
Of course, our customers at Upstream Pay are e-merchants. So you all know that e-merchants have been struggling a lot in the last months to implement the new DSP2 and the new strong customer authentication. So of course, when they are seeing a new means of payments, they are expecting to have as much frictionless as possible journey. So of course, they have still in mind all the hard work to implement strong customer authentication for card payments. So there are, let's say, high expectations to have as smooth as possible customer journeys with EPI payments.
Okay, but frictionless is also a question of security. So Andrew, as an expert in the security, what do you think about this approach of frictionless?
For what it's worth, my experiences in the past is that it's more about context than frictionless. It's when a customer is doing something they do regularly, they expect that experience to be repeatable, and they also expect it to get easier over time. There is a wealth of data there, and frankly, their expectation is that in some extent that should be used. I think as well, when they do something unusual, it can actually cause nervousness if that isn't flagged or something isn't captured, or at least something just prompted to say, you as a customer know this is unusual, but actually we as an organization know this is unusual as well, and we're watching this. So I think sometimes actually frictionless in highly unusual transactions can be damaging. I completely agree with Nizar around delegated authentication for that reason. I think it's about putting these decisions, and also coming from Feedzai and bias, but having the right data. And I think the opportunity for the EPI is to provide a richness of data in the right context to allow delegated authentication to take place, because I think only there will the fidelity of whether this is normal or unusual, and whether this warrants something different or is probably in the 99% of things that they do. I think that's going to be the subtlety we need for the customer. Simply removing friction, I don't think it actually creates that perception and trust that we talked about. But delegating it with the right data to create actually the right experience at the right time is, well, it's the holy grail, really. It's, for me, it's got to be the ambition.
Okay, so the customer journey itself and the context is key in that case regarding that approach for frictionless.
And having the data to be able to make really refined decisions.
Right. Anaïs, do you have some example of customer journeys that may be problematic, or at least that you wonder about?
Yes, of course. I'm thinking about a typical customer journey for groceries. So for Nizai, you will know what I'm talking about. So when you want to buy food, for example, you make your purchase online, and after you collect your purchase in the drive stores. When you do that, and at the checkout, you will have an amount of your basket that will request an authorization. And this is how it works with card payments. So this authorization request is made, and after, as a final customer, you will pick up your goods. But sometimes some items are missing when you collect your goods. And finally, the amount that will be debited on your bank account, so the amount that will be captured after the authorization request, is lower. So you have a difference between the authorization request and the final captured amount in the card payment. And I'm wondering how it will work with EPI payments, because as we said, it is based on SCT Inst. So typically for this kind of use cases, when you have, let's say, an equivalent of partial refund, how it will work. And it is a common use cases in the online world.
Yeah, so, and also some question regarding maybe customers. But in that case, Nizar, how do you have some ideas on what could be the feedback of your customer? How do you think that your customer may react or may see with this type of approach? And maybe like Anna said.
Yes, so we have already some feedbacks from customers that come from neobanks. Neobanks, I would say, in the beginning did not manage payment messages like classical banks did, in the way that you will see the amount of the pre-authorization appearing and displaying on the application, and after that you will see the real amount. And we have understood very early that this is confusing for customers, and they perceive it as a lack of technicity from the merchants, unfortunately. So for me, adopting EPI raises the same question, meaning that I think everyone should be like complying around this standard. And I think there is a great expectation from issuer banks to manage well this kind of messages, so not to lead the customer to the confusion. For me, one of the example is in petrol stations, but on all e-commerce mechanisms, we have always pre-authorization with capture then, etc., etc. So this is key of the success, this perception of the customer. Moreover, as it relies in API, we know today as it relies on instant payments, we know that the STT Inst today is the payment is on the customer side. Many of the banks charge some fees when the customer uses his STT Inst. And this is a little bit contradictory with the card payment, as it charges nothing to the customer. All is supported by the rest of the ecosystem. Would this promise be respected with the EPI or not? Meaning that the customer, the final customer, will never pay anything, and all this would be supported by the ecosystem. I think this is a key factor to the success of EPI.
Okay, so we can see that there is a lot of expectations for clarification on the services and implementations for this next European scheme. So based on the work already done, and Varun, you mentioned that there is a lot of work and hard work already done, and because there is a lot of requests for clarifications and expectations for that, does the pandemic has had an impact on the ongoing work or on API?
Yeah, so first of all, I've heard all of the expectation, and they're totally normal. I mean, we're starting with a new scheme. It's normal to think that it will solve most of the pain points that we are currently having in our world. Again, when we mention 3S, let's think about the fact that when we built the card system, internet payment was not there, so we had to find some ways to make it happen, and we found the way. So obviously, when we start with a new scheme, it enables to find better way. Obviously, that's what we're working on. It's clear that we had the pandemic and that it had impact. It had very positive impact on the payment part, first of all, because obviously more and more payment were done through card or through digital payment throughout Europe. The increase of the contactless limit within all of the European countries made more and more card payment through merchant at the point of sale. So obviously the volumes are increasing, which makes us even more confident that there is room for API, room for such an innovation into this field, clearly. The second thing is the impact to people themselves that has been working on the project. Well, obviously they were not able to meet that much through physically, but they were all able to work through Teams, through all of the devices that were able, and both on the bank/acquire partners of API and for the API team, it was we were in capacity to really do hard work and to follow the roadmap that we've defined clearly all together and to make it happen. And so far, we don't see we're not suffering from delay, and the fee and the work that has been provided to us is a really good work from the EPI team with their partners as shareholders. So we're quite confident that pandemic is bringing more volume on the pot, which is very good. And second thing, teams are working very hard, and remotely they managed to work quite hard also and quite very well. So we're good with that.
Good. So we can expect to have more details very soon. In that case, and if we start to think on deploying API and so on, Nizar, what should be considering in the area of the acceptance in terms of implementations and needs?
Great question, Arnaud. So our expectations are simple in terms of integration. We want it to be integrated seamlessly with the lowest cost possible, and that it does fit to the existing architecture. This is really essential for us. We want to add the API payment like we add today Amex payments or PayPal payments, etc. So this is key for us.
Okay, and being directly in contact with retailers, how do you see this implementation aspect on your side?
Of course, EPI will be a new means of payment. So considering that, merchants will have to build the interfaces to accept this new means of payments. So either they will do it with their PSPs on the online world, or through an orchestration platform, for example, if they use one. So there is, of course, these new interfaces to build. And as Nizar said, retailers expect to have it at the lower cost as possible. But there is a huge advantage of EPI is for cross-border merchants, because it will be a pan-European spread means of payment. So if they want to reach customers in different countries in Europe, it's a really strong asset to implement this means of payment. So it's good. And coming back to the, let's say, back office world of payments and backside of payments, I think the SCT Inst is a really structuring impact, because it's real time. Today in treasury management tools used by retailers, they are used to card payments, and card payments are settled 1 day or 2 days after the day of purchase. But with SCT Inst, it will be real time. So it needs a huge upgrade in the treasury management tools, and also new habits of working and analyzing the treasury. Yeah, and it's sometimes a side that is not seen when we implement this new means of payment.
Yes, correct, right. It's not only just a transaction by itself, but also all what is behind that in terms of reconciliations and all that back office approach and the treasury approach, as you mentioned. Yeah. Also, is there a way, Andrew, to improve, or an opportunity to improve the security of payment thanks to EPI?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And anything new, new technology, as I say, new data creates opportunity. I think Anaïs has touched on a great point around treasury, but I would make the same point around security. The fraud prevention approach, the security approach has to be real time by design. We can no longer rely on the settlement or almost kind of goods being approved and shipping. We need to have real time by design, and I think EPI has the opportunity to create that consistency and to create that expectation across the board. So I think it raises the minimum standard and it clarifies the expectation. So from that perspective, I see it as an opportunity. There are risks with anything new that as you make that change, fraudsters and criminals go elsewhere And I do worry that this may create pressure around KYC and onboarding, especially for merchants. If you've established accounts elsewhere, does that create a perception of trust that isn't true? And will we see the fraudsters push upstream? But overall, I would say this is a positive shift and an opportunity around consistency and real-time by design.
Okay, great. I would like to also to take some other view and other perspective, especially regarding the Euro digital and with the European central banks. Valorant, do you think that the Euro digital could be a competitor or not to EPI?
That's a good question, Arno, and I don't have a total answer to that clearly, obviously, because first of all, we don't know exactly. It's an initiative from the Central European Bank that has been taken in the past months. We don't know exactly what is this Euro digital so far. So obviously, I don't know what is the exact offer that will come through this Euro digital. What we see as bank anyway is that any initiative enabling payment to be smoother, faster, to be in a more digital way, and to be in a more, and I take the word that Andrew did mention, frictionless methodology, is one key asset. If the Euro digital brings that on the market, I'm sure that API will take advantage of it and will somehow enable it to be a part of the API initiative. So I'm hoping not to see Euro digital as a competitor and more as an enabler of innovation. We'll see exactly what it comes.
Great. So we heard that merchants are very interesting, in fact, by EPI, if I can say that. I hope you agree on that. But and Anaïs, how do you see the participation of the merchants? Are they volunteering to participate to API actions, or how it works, this type of relation with API?
Actually, merchants are volunteering because they perceive that it will be a huge impact in the future in the payment world. But it's just sometimes a constraint of timing and availabilities that constrain merchants to dedicate themselves and participate to such working groups, because yes, it can be a huge amount of time to participate in these kind of working groups, and unfortunately, sometimes they have to prioritize other operational aspects. But of course, merchants are really interested in this initiative.
Okay, so I will have a latest question, and I will give it to you, Nizar, to understand also as a merchant, what would be your final word regarding API for that conference? What is your conclusion on that?
Yeah, very interesting. So my conclusion, for me, the adoption of API is first of all an adoption of the key player. The customer is one of those, and the brand awareness is really very determining here. I don't want that API be only an engineering project. Yeah, it's very, very important. Like you see today, when we ask a question to a customer, does he know Visa, MasterCard, and CV? He will say, I know Visa, I know MasterCard, but I don't know CV. And we don't want that API be the next CV. It should be a brand. It should be well perceived by the customer. And this is very important. This is my final word. So.
Great. So yeah, API has to be known by customer and merchant and to be a real brand, or at least the next European network, and with a final name, the official name should be a real network known by customers. Great. So thank you very much to all of you. It was very, very interesting. And it's time now, I think, for the different questions and Q&A. So we will switch now to the slido.com. And for all of you that are attending our conference, please feel free to raise all the different questions. Well, okay, so we already have several. So in your view, which role the existing payment standard Nexo 2022 should play in EPI? Well, okay, good question. Would it be for you, Valron?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Part of the year. So obviously, of course, API is looking at all the payment standard, such as Nexo, ISO, is involving also themselves into those standards. And when I would say the rules of API will arrive, obviously we'll see that API has been working very closely to leverage on all those new standards payment methodology to assess the best value proposition. So obviously they're playing a role with those payment standards.
Yeah, we can see that there is a lot of actors also working on, started to work on 2022, and especially on Nexo, as SCT INS is based on 2022 already, to use Nexo for the acceptance part, which is compliant with the different other kernels which are below that. But in terms of protocol and specification, 20 it's and Nexo is really expected based on our return of experience and customer at Fime. Yeah. API has been created by the banks. Does it engage with the merchant sector already? This is something I think we already replied a few. So maybe Nizar or Anaïs, are you feeling comfortable also with the relation with EPI?
I think that the merchants are totally involved in the working groups, because EPI are trying to take all the stakeholders around the tables. As I said before, it's just sometimes maybe a time constraint that avoid maybe some merchants to dedicate more time to this initiative, but EPI is welcoming all the stakeholders in this initiative. Nisa, if you want to add something.
No, I align with you. Yeah, we are really involved in the API. I think they are trying to federate all the stakeholders around this innovation trend, so it's good for us at this level.
Great. So good relations, that is key and good. Valorant, you mentioned face-to-face and digital. What about the call center in that case?
Okay, so obviously I don't have the exact answer to this particular call center question. Sorry about that, but clearly as I mentioned, we go for 49 domestic solution with several behavior, with several way of paying and stuff like that, to one centralized one, and we won't let any particular behavior of payment fall down because we're building one centralized solution. So the call center will be somehow allowed to provide the same experience that they currently do in terms of payment capacity in this API product.
Okay. Can you explain if an e-commerce merchant can rely on a payment guarantee to confirm an online order to a customer, or should he wait on receiving the payment? For you, Valorant, maybe?
Well, the good thing with that is that it's based on SCT Inst. So obviously, that's one key asset that we bring on the pot, which is the fact that the merchant will know right away that they've got the money. So I would say that it's an answer to one sometimes painful point that Anaïs has mentioned, that is the fact of treating payment through batches system. That is currently the case in most of the experience, and that obviously with API won't exist anymore. So e-com payment shall have the same advantage with this SCT Inst system.
Yeah, what about, yeah, Nisa?
Sorry, Anna. The answer of Varian is very pertinent. I had just to balance it with the customer perception. As today, the customer, when he makes a payment on the e-commerce, this pre-authorization, even though the amount is really guaranteed, but it's not perceived by the customer, and tomorrow he will see a direct debit instantly on his banking account. So it could be a little bit misleading in the beginning, but yeah, all the advantage here is for the merchant, as the funds are transferred instantly.
Okay. I think that we lost one question, but well, it was what is the value for customers in that case compared to the current class? Does API will bring some additional value for customer? What is your feeling for that? I think Valorant is still for you for that.
Well, to me, the first experience of the digital experience that API will bring on the pod is something that the current domestic solution don't bring. I mean, obviously, I speak about France, for instance, because I'm currently I'm French. Carte bancaire doesn't bring any much of a digital experience into the payment experience, whereas some other actors are bringing those experience. So obviously, this will be one key asset that will be brought to the customer. And the second thing is that we've got already in our mind some innovation that I won't speak right now about, but that will be also some key assets that will come with the API adventure and the API product, and that will bring some assets to the customer themselves that they will really think that's cool value proposition. And that goes with Nisar's point of view. It's not an engineer project. Obviously, there are some marketing people that are working very hard on that, some digital people and things like that are working on the customer journey, on the experience that they will have digitally. So normally it should bring value to the customer, clearly.
Yes, and this is also related to the next question about communication, training, and by who. I understand well, there is a lot of work already within EPI to work on communication, isn't it?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay. Another question is that EPI must become a reference again, Visa and MasterCard, as you said previously. But in that case, what should be the key differentiator? It is, at least for the question for Jim, the IP will not be enough. Do you see other key element differentiator that API will bring? Valorant?
Well, to me, I'm sorry to say that to Jim, but I think that instant payment is one key enabler. I think that bringing one common asset for the merchant, bringing one value proposition that is through instant payment to the customer, and bringing also at some point sovereignty to Europe when it comes to payment are three key assets that will be differentiator to our competitors. Again, we think in our point of view that those key assets will be a key differentiator, and there are some other stuff that are on the shelf that we're already thinking about that will bring also even more value to the customer, being a customer being either card holder or being a merchant, and that will come in the upcoming years.
And maybe also API will rely on IP, instant payment, but also they will use request to pay. And thanks to all that, it can also bring additional value that is not possible with classical cards, like P2P or equivalent. So it's possible to have additional services in different type of environment, and also for call center, for instance, to send a request to pay, to validate and to secure transactions, but for person to person. So a lot of additional type of services that are not possible right now with a card system by themselves, because they are designed for B2C mainly, where API can go much more beyond all that and provide all different type of new experiences and new type of services.
Yeah, obviously the digital environment of API is bringing us a new field of experience that will be key in the upcoming year.
What could be the guarantee for the end customer in that case to use instant payments? Valerian, or I don't know if someone else, Andrew, if you want to But in terms of guarantee, it's more regarding is your feeling or what you know, Valerian, regarding potential guarantee for customers?
Well, normally we should try to change the less possible the experience to end customer and to bring the same kind of guarantee. But I will wait for the EPI rule to be out and to mention that. I won't go into that much detail, obviously, right now.
Okay, and we will take just the latest question is regarding the marketing, and it was your conclusion, Nisa, regarding to make the brand, the next future EPI brand, well known on the market. It's a huge amount of marketing expenses. How this will be covered, how this will be paid, and who will pay for this marketing? I think it's still for you, Valerian.
Oh my God, I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let's not forget who is giving the mean of payment to the cardholder. Okay, it's the bank. Okay, so it's true that Visa and MasterCard are bringing key asset, but when it comes to the relationship, it's the bank that is the issuer of the card that brings the card to the cardholder or bring the instant payment or the digital experience to the customer. So therefore, we can communicate to our cardholder, and we've got really great experience that you might not know through all of the European countries, but are very famous in some of the European countries, such as Bizum in Spain, Ideal in the Netherlands, and so on. And those experience have been able to leverage on a great value proposition and to enable the cardholder to adopt it and things like that. So for sure, we're putting some marketing spending on the table. But the experience itself will also bring key asset to the cardholder. I'm very confident with that.
Yes, Nisa?
Yeah, may I add something? For early adopters, yeah, it would be a challenge. But I think that the relay will be taken if the ecosystem is open enough for innovation. Meaning that if European innovators focus on the EPI ecosystem, they will incrementally come with solutions that will upgrade the value proposition and make it at the same level of what the classic card offers today. I think this is very important that it would be open, and I don't think that EPI should address 100% of the needs. It should be really collaborative.
Good. Thank you to all of you. It was very, very interesting. So
thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation. I think we saw a lot of different items that is very key and very interesting. Thank you to all, and I hope that you had a pleasure time with all of us. Also, thank you to our panel, Valerian, Andrew, Nisa, Anaïs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Arnaud.
Don't forget to reply also for all attendees in the auditorium to our final questionnaire. It will be very useful for us. Thank you to all. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.